To Voices of Our Fathers. Tonight's topic is the truth, and we are in our second segment of this discussion. And right now I'm going to let the guest to my right, starting with Elder Shadaniah, introduce himself.
I'm Elder Shadaniah ben Israel.
Shalom, I am Elder Aharon ben Israel.
Shalom.
Shalom, I'm Obayahu ben Yehuda, Israel.
Shalom.
Shalom.
And for those who did not catch the first half of this discussion, we're talking about the truth and how vast and how enormous that word is and how it's misused and misinterpreted. So, as we were speaking in the first segment, that the truth is absolute.
Very good.
And there is no bits and pieces of the truth, which is misnomed by a lot of people. And they spread that lie without any conviction. The truth being our only way back to the Father cannot be compromised, meaning that you must hunger for the truth, because hunger or that desire is what will keep you focused or keep you on course. It's just like one of the main reasons you get up and go to work every day is because you are hungry or you don't want to become hungry. So in order for you to survive, you stay on course. You stay committed. So let me put it in this regard. You want to survive, or you want to obtain salvation, or you want to be saved. You must stay on course. And the only way that you can keep yourself on course is to hunger or strive after the truth. Now, in the last segment, we were also talking about the covenant. And Elder Shadaniah was explaining that the covenant and the testament was synonymous, meaning the same, has the same definition. But a lot of us don't understand that the covenant also means it's a contract.
Yes, correct.
A binding contract. Because the Father gave a certain amount of instruction in the format in which he said, if you do thus, thus, and thus, I will do thus, thus, and thus.
That's correct.
That's the contract. That's right, the conditions. And he outlined those conditions, and he made them clear in what's called the covenant. So a lot of people still don't understand what that covenant, that's a contract between man and the Most High. Now, when we talk about man, all men are not striving to serve the Most High.
That's true.
And you have to understand that you have to be in a certain mindset to deal with this covenant. There are certain things that you must be able or be willing to give up that's not of the Father to bring this covenant into your life. So there are some sacrifices that you must make. So when I say this covenant is for man, between man and the Most High, we're talking about a man or woman that is going to be committed and want to serve the Most High. Okay? So that's an intricate part of this covenant.
I had left off, I had started talking about the part of the covenant. We were talking about the Levitical priesthood.
Right.
And as we stated, you ministers are not the Levitical priesthood.
Can't.
That's right.
Correct.
Period. And I read Deuteronomy 16:16, and it has to do with tithing. We're going to explain this to you the best we can, and we're going to read it to you so that you can get some truth and understanding about what tithing is and who is supposed to tithe and what is supposed to be tithed. Deuteronomy 16:16 says, 3 times in a year all males shall appear before Yahweh your El in the place where he chose. Stop. Again, let's specify this. He said 3 times a year all males were to appear where Yah placed his name. Well, first of all, do you know where Yah placed his name?
Very good
Did your
question.
minister tell you where Yah placed his name? If you don't know, he placed it in Jerusalem,
That's right.
or Jerusalem as they call it today. That's where he placed his name. That's where the tithes were supposed to be taken 3 times a year. At the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
Very good.
You never heard of that, though. The Feast of Weeks, or the Feast of Pentecost, as you call it. And the Feast of Booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles. And they shall not appear before Yahweh empty-handed.
Very good.
Because they were supposed to bring the tithes in. Well, what is the tithes? Let's read something here. Most ministers go to this. They turn to Malachi.
Uh-oh.
Let's go to Malachi,
Malachi.
the 3rd chapter. But they don't go back and read the 2nd chapter to you.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Because if they read the 2nd chapter to you, then you would understand it wasn't talking about you like that. He was talking about the priest. Because the 2nd chapter of Malachi says, priests to be disciplined.
That's right.
But I'm going to read this. Malachi 3:8. It says, will a man rob God? The proper word is Elohim, because we're going to get to that later.
Okay. Very good.
Will a man rob Elohim? It says, yet you are robbing me. He's talking to the priest. And they really didn't have to do that, because we're going to read something to show you they didn't have to do that. They had got greedy in this time. It says, but you say, how have we robbed thee? He says, in tithes and offerings. It says, you are cursed with a curse, for you are robbing me, the whole nation of you. Then it says, bring the whole tithes in the storehouse, so that there may be food in my house. Stop. Did you hear what that said? So that there would be what? Food in my house. And test me now in this, says Yahweh Sabaoth, if I will not open for you the windows of Hashemayim, or heaven, and pour out for you a blessing until it overflows.
Rain.
Stop. Right. So that your crops would grow.
That's it.
Because you're an agrarian society.
Farmers.
But now, even at that, in another place it will tell you if you live too far from Jerusalem
Yep.
to carry your tithes and they would spoil, what you would do, you would turn your tithes into money, and when you get to Jerusalem, you turn that money back into tithes and take it to the storehouse.
That's right.
Because it was to feed the widow, the homeless, and the orphans. And your brothers and sisters that didn't have, that fell on hard times.
Correct.
It wasn't to feed the preacher. Not for the day. But Elder had read something back in Deuteronomy 18. Numbers 18. Let's go to Numbers 18. And you'll see 18 and 8. It says, Numbers 18 and 8. Then Yahweh spoke to Aharon, now behold, I myself have given you charge of all my tithes or offerings, even all the holy gifts of the sons of Israel. I have given them to you as a portion, and to your sons as a perpetual allotment. Why? Because the Levitical priesthood did not have a land as such.
Correct.
They were to do the works of the temple. They were to carry out the sacrifices. They were to carry out see that the incense would be burned, see that the flame never go out, did all the work of the temple. So they didn't have land. So when you brought your tithes and your offerings, they would get their 10%.
Correct.
Of what you brought in your sacrifices, because the sacrifices were done twice a day.
Right.
Huh? They had to eat. That's what they were for. They wasn't for you to take no money to no preacher once a month, give him 10% of your earnings. It never said that.
No, it didn't.
And don't tell me about Abraham paying tithes,
No.
because when Abraham paid tithes, he paid 10% of the increase when he went to the slaughter of the kings.
Very good.
The spoils that he brought back, that 10% he gave
To Melchizedek.
to Melchizedek.
Very good.
So don't talk that nonsense to these people. They don't have to pay you no 10% of their earnings.
No.
Correct.
And
Now, it is right. Listen to me, people. It is right for you to make a commitment to wherever you call yourself worshiping.
Absolutely.
To see that the lights is on.
Very
To
good.
see that you got heat.
Right.
To see that the doors are open.
Tell him, Elder.
But as far as you giving him some money, he's supposed to have a job just like you.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Because he's not the Levitical priesthood.
Absolutely.
And you better stop telling that lie that you are.
Absolutely.
Because you can't take no tithes. Show me you from Lewi.
Robbing the folks.
And just to capsize on that, why was it necessary? Why was it necessary for a brother like Shaul, or you call Paul, why was it necessary for him to even say in his writings that he was single, he didn't get married, he was, everybody was like him, and that was a good thing. That was a good thing, because Shaul was dedicated. But you got to understand, viewing audience, Shaul had that type of an attitude because of the time that he lived in.
Very good.
The time that he lived in was a time where the word or the name, you call it Jesus Christ, at that time, that was not a household name. Yahshua, of course, is the true name, but the point I'm making here is that his name was not a household name.
That's right.
No.
So the church, his name was in an infancy type of a stage, or in an infancy stage.
Correct.
When something is new, when something has never been heard of before, when something needs to get out into the world, when a message has to go across the entire globe, it is in its infancy. And the more an individual put into it, the more dedication he puts into it, the more dedication as a group or from a group, the faster, the more efficient that principle spreads across the whole globe. So at the time, it was really necessary. It was necessary for someone to dedicate their life totally to the cause. And Shaul dedicated his life totally to the cause. But now that we're what? Over 2,000 years on the other side of Yeshua, Jesus Christ you call him, on the other side of the bringing in of the church, Christians and whatever, etc., the name Yeshua, or the name Jesus Christ, is a household name. Everybody done heard about who Christ is.
Yes, sir.
And this society, we're talking about in this society. This is what we're talking about right now. Because this is where we live, and this is where the traditionalism is right here in this country, America. So this is where we're focusing on right now. That's a common household name. Everybody, predominantly everyone in America done heard of who Christ is. They heard of Jesus. So the need for you to say, well, our minister should have to work and he should dedicate all of his life. No, not. He doesn't have to dedicate his life like Shaul dedicated his life. He doesn't have to do that. Because we're looking at a completely different time, a completely different area, or era rather. Not to say it's wrong to do it. He can do it if he wants to. That's fine. But he needs to work. It was more necessary for Shaul or Paul to dedicate his life 24/7. It was more necessary for him to do that in that day, in that time, than it is for any minister to do it now in 2003. You can't tell me it's not. Because everyone has heard of Christianity. This is probably one of the most dominant religions in all the world. But it wasn't in when Shaul was here.
That's right. That's
So you will tell me it's the same time? It's the same, it demands the same amount of attention? No, it does not. No, minister, you ain't got to sit on your behind and then go here and do that whenever you feel like it. You go to work.
That's right.
Get you a job.
Shaul didn't have time to go to work.
Buying all them Lexus.
Shaul didn't have, he would have been more deserving of the receiving of a tithe before any minister today, because he had to get the word out across the whole globe.
Very good.
Because nobody knew about it. Nobody even heard it. And you can't tell me that's not right, because it is right. You can't compare what we do now in one instance to the things that they did then and the way that they did it then, because the time frame is key, is important. What we do and how we do it and when we do it and where we do it is totally dependent upon what time frame we live in.
Right.
Things are not the same now as they were 2,000 years ago. And you have to consider those things. And that's all I wanted to say. So how you talking about how that minister, he's got to go out and work. He's got to get a job.
Right.
Work. Tithing is not for you.
No, it's not.
It's only for the Levitical priesthood. When Israel was together as a nation, all of the 12 tribes were together. The Father decided. He decided to give each tribe land, give each tribe booty, but except one tribe, except one area of that tribe, and that was the Levi or Lewi, or you might say Levi,
Right.
which is where the priests came from.
That's
They
it.
were the only ones that did not receive an allotment of something.
That's it.
So then the Father said, okay, since you didn't receive anything, Levi, or Levi, then I'm going to have it's so that all of the other tribes, which I have given something, I'm going to make them responsible for taking care of you.
Very good.
That's what tithes are for.
That's
I'm going to read that right here. We're in Numbers. Back in Numbers, just like
Right.
you had Numbers 18.
Right.
And we'll go right directly to the 21st verse. It says, behold, I have given the children of Levi, all. It says not some.
Right.
It says, I have given the children of Levi. It says, all of the tithes in Israel.
Very
Not
good.
some of them. So the tithes were not to go to anybody but one tribe, and that's
Very good.
Levi.
Yeah.
Right.
I've given them all the tithes in Israel as an inheritance.
Yeah.
So this is their inheritance. When I've given the other 11, that's their inheritance. And I'm going to make the other 11 tribes responsible for giving Levi their inheritance because they, Levi, will receive their inheritance through you.
Very
Yeah.
good.
11 tribes. It says, I have given Levi all the tithes in Israel as an inheritance in return for the work which they performed.
Yeah.
They had duties, they had responsibilities. So the Father paid them through the other 11 tribes. And he's given them their tithes for the work that they performed, the work of the tabernacle of the meeting. Hereafter, the children of Israel shall not come near the tabernacle of meeting, lest they bear sin and die.
Yep.
You see that?
That's right.
So it says 23, but the Levites, the children of Levi, shall perform the work of the tabernacle of the meeting, and they shall bear their iniquity. The iniquity of who? The ones who come to them.
Yeah.
It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that among the children of Israel they will have no inheritance, the Levites.
Right.
Right.
For the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer up as a heave offering to Yah, I have given to the Levites again as an inheritance. Therefore I have said to them, among the children of Israel they shall have no inheritance.
Yeah.
So they were to receive the tithes.
Yep.
And their job, their duties, their responsibilities have been washed away.
Yeah.
And there is only one now that stands in that order.
Yeah.
And that is Yahshua,
Yeah.
one who you call Jesus Christ.
Not only
And-
that, Elder, excuse me. I wanted to say not only to the Levitical priest, but also to the stranger, to the widower, and the homeless.
Absolutely.
I don't see no church, especially the previous one that I came from, giving to no stranger. The pastor don't even know who in the church is a widow. The widows don't get nothing, the fatherless, and that's who the tithe was going to outside of the Levitical priest. It went to them. We don't see the church giving anybody anything outside of the pastor. So there's some truths and there's some lies.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is right. Yeah, you are absolutely correct.
There's lots of lies.
Oh, yeah, they outnumber the truth quite a bit,
Yeah.
by quite a bit.
But you got to understand the significance behind tithing, the impact, behind the giving. It wasn't to entice the people to believe what you're preaching. A lot of times, churches do give and do feed people to entice them and to bring them in to the fold. And it's like if a person is starving and you feed him or you give him a piece of clothing and the world has misused him, I mean, quite naturally, he may sit down and he may listen.
Right.
Because he's been compromised.
Right, right.
So basically, tithing was not used as a tool
No.
to weasel and bring people under the thumbs
Yeah.
of what you're preaching.
Entrapment.
Right, entrapment or, like I said, enticement.
Very good.
Tithing, like Elder said, was for the Levites and their families.
Yep.
And
Exactly.
and the tithes that were put in the storehouse were for the the people that was had misfortunes in their lives.
Very good.
So here we are dealing with the truth
Right.
as best we can and trying to deliver it so that, and I know to a lot of people that this sounds extremely strange to your ears because this is the first time you probably ever heard anybody going against the grain, especially on television.
Right.
But understanding, like the subject matter, like the subject of tonight's topic is the truth. We must let it be known.
Very good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is right. That is correct.
You about to expound? Anybody else got anything to expound?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, we got a lot to talk about
We haven't
here.
even scratched the surface yet.
No, we haven't.
And how is it that you also, you collect the tithe, but you don't even celebrate the 3 holy days that the tithe was instituted to be taken on?
That's
Correct.
That's right.
You don't even know when those days fall within the year.
Right. Absolutely.
Like this one church that I used to go to took a first fruit offering in January. But first fruit falls in what's called Abib, which is the first season, or some people know it as the first month of the Hebrew calendar. And that falls in mid-March to early April,
Yeah.
after the Passover,
Yeah.
the second day of unleavened bread, correct?
Correct.
So that's when you take the first fruit. But it was the Levitical priest that would wave the sheaf offering.
That's correct.
That would be the first fruit
The
of the...
loaves. That's
Correct.
right.
So how's anything growing first in January when everything is frozen and dead? So if your pastor is collecting a first fruit offering in January, I advise you to get out that church. You ain't got no business in there because that's operating from the spirit of error, the opposite of the spirit of truth. There's no first fruit in January. That's error. That's satanic. That's Satan's teaching. And if you're under that type of ministry, run for your life. Get out of there.
And that is truth. That is
That's
truth.
the truth.
That is the truth. Because we're telling you the truth. And understanding who you are, heritage, understanding who you are is one of the key things to understanding truth. Sounds kind of crazy? I know it does. Maybe you never heard of that kind of thing before. But it is the absolute truth. Because we are still supposed to adhere to the rules and regulations that the Father has provided for us. We say that the Torah is the law. Torah means law. Yeah, in a secondary way, yes. But what does the Torah really mean? It means instruction.
That's
Good.
right.
That's the truth.
Simple.
That is a greater definition than the law.
Very
Right.
good.
Instructions on what? How to live your life.
Right.
Very good.
And how to do the right thing and how not to do the wrong thing.
That's right.
And do what is best for you. Because those rules were given to us by the Father. And who is more perfect than He to know what is right from what is wrong? You can't just take the instructions that He gave us to live our lives, to govern our very lives, and put them on the back burner and say they're not important anymore. Do you realize what you're saying when you say we don't have to listen to that law anymore? Do you really realize what you're saying? You think about that. Yah does not change. He doesn't change for you. He doesn't change for me. He changes for no one. Whatever He decides to do, that is His agenda. We have an agenda.
Very good.
We live our lives. We go to school. We go to church. We worship. We play baseball. We play sports. These are things on our agenda. But guess what? Yah, who you call God, also has an agenda.
Yes.
And his agenda will stand tall forever. And his agenda does not change. And his agenda is exactly what it is and what he gave us. And you cannot change it. Study some more. You got to. You have to. In order to understand the truth,
Very good.
you think about it.
Let's read something in Numbers, the 3rd chapter. I want to read and I want to emphasize on just how important the Levites were to the Father and his program. And how the Father is an L of order, and how once he institutes something, you can't come behind him and, you know, twist it or warp it. And let's read a little. Let's just read this. I found it very interesting. I read this a while back. The 3rd chapter and the 5th verse. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, this is the 3rd chapter of Numbers and the 5th verse. And Yahweh spoke unto Moshe, saying, bring the tribe of Levi near, and present them before Aaron the priest, that they may minister unto him, and they shall keep his charge, and the charge of the whole congregation before the tabernacle of the congregation to do the service of the tabernacle. Now, part of the service of the tabernacle is tithing. Okay? Just to point that out. And they shall keep all the instruments of the tabernacle of the congregation and the charge of the children of Israel to do the service of the tabernacle. And thou shalt give the Levites unto Aaron and to his sons. They are wholly given unto him out of the children of Israel. And thou shalt appoint Aaron and his sons, and they shall wait on their priest's office, and the stranger that cometh near shall be put to death. So you got to understand, this thing was put into order. And it's just like Elder Aaron said, prove that you from Levi.
That's right.
So what I'm trying to point out to you is, the stranger that came near the Levites' station or the Levites' office that the Father prescribed will be put to death. Therefore, if you are not of this priesthood, you should not be collecting anything called a tithe.
That's right.
Especially taking people's hard-earned money.
We didn't write it. We didn't write it.
And that is the truth.
We didn't write
because you must understand that the Father is the Father of order. And he will put it back, whatever's out of order, he will put back into order.
Correct.
Because the Father will bring wrath upon the head of a false prophet.
Cain.
An aligned prophet.
Right. Leviticus, I mean not Leviticus, but Jeremiah 23.
Oh, man. Oh. I love it.
Verse 1. I want y'all to hear this. I know y'all don't preach this in y'all sermon.
Nah.
Because y'all don't want y'all members to hear this.
Correct.
So I'm going to tell them.
Go ahead.
It says, woe to the shepherds, who are destroying and scattering the sheep of my pasture, declares Yahweh. I didn't write this.
That's right.
This is Yahweh talking through Jeremiah. Yahoo, that's what his name is. Therefore, thus says Yahweh, Elohim of Yisrael, concerning the shepherds who are tending my people. You have scattered my flocks and driven them away. 97,000 different religions. And ain't nobody teaching nothing.
Right.
And have not attended to them. Behold, I am about to attend to you for your evil.
That's right.
Of your deeds, declared Yahweh. Then I myself shall gather the remnants of my flock out of all the countries where I have driven them, and shall bring them back to their pasture, and they will be fruitful and multiply. That's enough. If you don't understand that.
Trembling.
Huh?
My book say pastors.
Yeah,
Woe unto you pastors.
that's right. Because they knew. Huh? What did I read in the very beginning of this show? What did it say in Timothy? Timothy had some wisdom. I never said to you that that was scripture.
That's right.
I never said that.
Right.
Because Elder told you that was out of a letter.
Very good, very good.
A letter.
But the information was right on target.
Absolutely.
The Spirit speaketh expressly.
Exactly.
In the latter days, men would stray from the faith. What faith? The faith of Yeshua. You understand that? Let me read something else to you. Turn to John, the 14th chapter. I'm going to read one verse for you, verse 6. Since y'all all want to know what would Jesus do, I want you to listen to this. This is what Yeshua said.
Okay.
Yeshua said to him, Thomas, who he was speaking to,
Okay.
he said, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. Huh? You might not understand what that means.
Most people don't. Most people don't.
Nah.
Huh? They put the word Jesus here, but we know when you go back to Mary or Matthew, the first chapter, and the angel Gabriel came to Miriam, he did not say Jesus. He could not. It was impossible.
That's right.
Correct.
One, there was no English. Two, he was talking to Hebrews.
Exactly.
He spoke to them in the Hebrew tongue. The name that the Father gave him was Yeshua. But that's later on. But
the truth is, being audience, is that during that time, here we go. We talked about time before.
Yeah.
During that time, 2,000 years ago, they were not speaking English.
No, they weren't.
Is that right, Elder?
No, they weren't.
So that is true. That one might not be too difficult for them to believe. They might believe that one real easy. It's true. There was nobody speaking English.
No.
No, not at all.
So, like Elder said, Jesus is English. And that's some of you might say, no, it's Greek.
No.
It is not.
No.
Because you spell Jesus how? J-E-S-U-S.
Right.
Now, if Jesus was Greek, then there would be no J there.
Right.
Because there are no J's in Greek.
No, right.
So Jesus is a what? English name that derived or came about from a Greek name. And that Greek name was Eosis.
That's right.
Its root is in Greek.
Right, correct.
But Jesus, the name itself, specifically, is English. Well,
And what it means is son of Zeus.
Very good.
We don't worship Zeus.
Not at all.
But I have a Hebrew New Testament here. And I have on one side English and one side Hebrew.
how many people have seen that before?
But on the Hebrew side here, I have highlighted the name Yeshua.
Correct.
Because it's not Jesus.
Right.
I want you to understand that this here, if they can see this, when you go back, look it up. Don't take my word for it. I don't want you to take my word for anything.
That's right.
Nothing that we say up here. I don't want you to take my word for it.
That's why we say the ask the who, ask the what.
That's right.
Check out the when.
Check out
the why.
whatever we say.
Right.
Very good.
Check it out.
But go back and look and see, isn't the name Yeshua? That was the name they beat Peter and them for and told them not
That's right. Elder.
to heal in that name.
That's right. The name Jesus didn't exist
This.
then.
No.
It couldn't have.
And it's not even a name, it's a phrase.
That's right.
The name Jesus is a phrase
Yes.
in English. And in Greek, it means the son of Zeus.
Yep.
That's what it means.
And in Greek mythology, Zeus' son name is Hermes.
Right.
But they tricked us, and they didn't say his name. They put the son of Zeus. So we're
Right.
calling on a phrase
Yeah.
of a false god.
Yes.
Jesus is none other than Hermes,
That's it.
the son of Zeus.
That's it.
And the name Jesus is just a phrase.
Yep.
Hey, Zeus. And in English, a phrase is one word, Jesus. But in Greek, it's two words, Hey, Zeus, the son of Zeus.
Yep.
That's all it is.
Right. Because Yeshua, that's why he said, I came in my Father's name.
Very
That's
good.
right.
Yah is salvation.
Right. Because, right. Shua, like you explained to the video audience, Elder,
Yep.
Yah, Shua.
Yeah.
Two syllables. Yah, Shua. So the
it.
root of Yeshua's name is Yah, the
That's
Father.
it.
Because he said his name means what? Yah is
Yah is
salvation.
That's it.
So then the suffix of the name is Shua,
Shua.
S-H-U-A. Shua is the English for the Hebrew meaning salvation, or is salvation, or saves.
Right.
So when you take the Yah first syllable, sort of like a prefix, and you take the suffix Shua, you put them together. What's the definition of the whole name now all together? It's Yah saves, or Yah is salvation.
Very good.
And when Yeshua came, he said what? I come in my Father's name. And he also said what? I do nothing of myself. He
Right.
said, I do only the will of my Father.
That's right.
And it wasn't, and the Father's will was not to change everything around.
Not at
Right.
all. Not at all.
And the Father wasn't Zeus.
No.
Exactly.
And you know, I want to show the world that Zeus has a presence in his Bible. See, when they hear us say Jesus, the son of Zeus, they say, well, where do you get that from? But it's right here in the scriptures. And I want to show them in the scriptures in the letter of Acts, chapter 14.
Yep.
And we can go to, we start at verse 9.
Right ahead.
Or we start at verse 8. And there sat a certain man at Lystra, impotent in his feet, being a cripple from his mother's womb, whom have never walked. The same heard Paul speak, who steadfastly beholding him, and perceiving that he had faith to be healed, said with a loud voice, Stand upright on thy feet. And he leaped and walked. And when the people saw that Paul had done, they lifted up their voices, saying in the speech of Laconia, which is Greek, which is a Greek city, or Galatia.
Right.
Okay? It says, the gods are come down to us in the likeness of men. They call Barnabas Jupiter and Paul Mercury's, because Paul was the chief speaker.
Right.
Now, in verse 12, Barnabas, Jupiter is another name for Zeus.
Absolutely.
That's
Jupiter
it.
is
Latin.
Right, Latin
Latin.
or Roman.
Very
right.
good.
Zeus
It's
is
Roman
Greek.
Latin.
Right.
Yeah.
But this was interpreted from the Greek.
Yeah.
Right.
So originally, this said Zeus.
Well, that's what mine
Right.
said.
Yeah, that's mine
Okay,
says here.
this one says Zeus. Now, moving down, to verse 13. Finish at verse 12. They called Barnabas Jupiter and Paul Mercury's. Now, who is Mercury's? That's Zeus' son,
Right.
the messenger of Zeus,
Right.
which name is Hermes.
Right.
So, because he was the chief speaker.
Right.
Now, who was the spokesperson for Yah? You see how Satan copied?
Yeah.
Satan copied. Yahshua is the spokesperson for Yah. Paul did the most speaking.
Yeah.
So we see right here Zeus and his son.
Yeah.
This is what the Greeks called them.
Yeah.
They thought that they were Zeus and his sons come down because in Greek mythology, the Galatians, they worshiped Zeus.
Right.
And verse 13 says, then the priest of Jupiter, or Zeus,
Yeah.
which
That's
was
what it
before
says.
their city, brought oxen and garlands unto the gates, and would have done sacrifices with the people. Verse 14, which when the apostle Barnabas and Paul heard of, they rent their clothing and ran in among the people, crying out and saying, sirs, why do you do these things? We also are men of like passion with you, and preach unto you that ye should turn from these vanities. What vanities? Zeus and his son. Unto the living Yah,
That's
which
it.
made heaven and earth and the sea and all things
There you go.
that are in.
That's it.
So we see Zeus has a presence right here in the scripture.
Yeah.
Because if you go back,
Absolutely.
this was once written in Greek and it said Zeus.
Yeah.
And Zeus' son's name is Hermes.
Absolutely.
But what Satan did, he didn't put Hermes' name in there. What he did is he just put in there the son of Zeus. So when you speak of Jesus, you're just speaking of the son of Zeus, but you never call his name.
No.
Jesus' name is Hermes.
Yeah.
And the name Jesus is just a phrase to describe Zeus, the Greek god's son.
That's it.
Absolutely.
All this,
Well,
so he's
see,
serving Zeus.
This book here speaks of Zeus and Hermes.
Very good.
See?
Absolutely. And that particular scripture that Yahoo was reading from is the King James 1611, I believe it is,
Correct.
which has been translated not once but twice from the Greek, because what we call the Old Testament was translated from the Septuagint, which is the Greek, to the English.
That's it.
Then the New Testament was originally written in the Hebrew,
Right.
but the Greeks came over and wrote the whole thing over, and then they transliterated it from the Greek, which they rewrote it in, to the English again.
Right.
So it's been done twice, once to the Old Testament and once to the New. And you're just reading from what? The New.
Right.
Very good.
Well, see, that's why I said in the beginning that we deal with the Hebrew, because that's the origin.
Exactly.
When we started off, the definition of truth is what? The state or being of reality, or the origin.
Absolutely. And it's plain, it's very plain, it's very simple, viewing audience. If I were to ask you a question, and this is the question I'm going to ask you, if someone was going to do something for you, or let's just say you had an opportunity to receive something, would you rather receive the original of whatever it is, or would you rather receive a copy?
Right.
If your answer is original, then you should understand my point.
Very good.
If your answer is it doesn't make any difference, then I suggest you go back to square one and rethink about what you just said. And we'll try that approach again. Would you rather have the original, or would you rather have a copy? We would rather have the original, because that is the first, it is the beginning, it is the birth of whatever the topic or subject matter may be.
Very good.
In this case, it's what? It is Scripture. And what we call the Old Testament, it was originally written in Hebrew. So what we do is when we try to do things, we try to do research, we try to read things, we try to do our investigation on issues, we go back to the original wording to understand what it really said what it really meant. But because we live in America, and I mean all of us, and we speak English, we have a book called the Bible that is written in English. And that is fine, and that's okay, and that's dandy, that's good. But there's only one thing wrong. There are lots of things, there are lots of principles, there are lots of phrases, words, etc. in the English that does not reach back and connect with Hebrew. That means that we've got a problem. What you're reading is not exactly what it was originally meant. So the concept that you're getting is not the original concept. It's saying two different things, and we're going to show you a couple of things like that. I'll show you a couple of things like that. A couple of examples of how we read in the English and we understand in one way. But even when we look at what the Greek says, it says something totally different from what the English says.
Yes, it does.
So if you want to rely on that Greek part too, you say, well, the Greek is just as good as the Hebrew. First of all, that's not true. Second of all, you're going to find out that that Greek part that you're holding on to says things that are a lot different from what your Bible reads in English too. And we're going to show you some of that.
You know what is interesting that the brother over here pointed out about Hermes and Jupiter, Mercury. And what you got to understand is, I'm going to echo off what you was talking about too, about the Greek. Everything carries a spirit.
Yeah.
So what you must understand is, in the English language carries a spirit of its own.
Yeah. Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, absolutely.
And in order for you to actually capture the essence of what the Father was saying, a lot of times, you have to go to the Hebrew.
Right, you have to.
Because the spoken word put out into the cosmos created a reaction or put something into motion. When the Father said, let there be light, there was light.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
There was no accident that the word was given to Hebrew-speaking people.
Correct.
Written on parchment, scroll, what have you, papyrus, in Hebrew. Okay.
That's right. That's right.
Now, when the brother was talking about, or we read in Acts, where the people witnessed, or they were standing there listening to Paul and Barnabas, and they thought that that was Zeus and his son come down in the flesh.
Yeah.
You got to understand that was a spirit.
Yeah.
That was the cataract in which the spirit of air puts on one's eyes and the plugs that it puts in one's ears. Turn to Acts, the 17th chapter. I'll give you another example. And this was Shaul in Athens. What you got to understand is Athens, Greece has a spirit. I mean, the demonic presence that was in Athens, Greece, that is still there. That's the same spirit of air that's here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is. Absolutely.
You must understand that.
That's right.
Now, let's read this quickly because we run out of time. Acts the 17th chapter, starting at the 16th verse.
Okay.
Now, when Paul waited for them at Athens, his spirit was stirred in him when he saw the city wholly given to idolatry, pagan worship. Therefore disputed he in the synagogue with the Yehudim and with the devout persons in the marketplace daily with them that met with him. Then certain philosophers of the Epicureans and of the Stoics encountered him, and some said, what will this babbler say? Others, he seemed to be a setter forth of strange gods, because he preached unto them Yahshua and the resurrection. Now skip over here to 22. 22nd verse. Then Shaul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are very religious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. Meaning they understood Yah, but they tried to worship Yah in their own understanding, with their own understanding, with that foul spirit that was in their heart, or that was in the midst of that city. So Paul said, the one that you trying to worship, let me present him unto you.
Right. Declared him to you.
He said trying to worship.
Yeah.
Right, they were trying to worship him. They had an altar. No doubt they was probably sacrificing who knows what, had different, gods and goddesses, statuettes surrounding it. And Shaul here in the 29th verse says, For as much then as we are the offspring of Yah, we ought not to think that the Godhead is like gold or silver or stone, carved by art and man's device. And the times of this ignorance Yah overlooked, but now commanded all men everywhere to repent.
Look at that.
So Father is an orderly El. Yes, and I said that earlier. So you must understand the way he prescribed it, that's the way you're supposed to follow it.
Right.
Which is truth.
Right. Very good.
So it talks about who they were trying, who they were trying to worship.
Yeah.
But I thought then it might be okay maybe to say that, well, that God is a God of the heart, so he knows who you're trying to worship.
Right. That's true.
He's a God of the heart, and he knows everything, so it should have been okay for them to try to worship him, because since they were sincere, and he's the God of the heart, it should have been okay. So there should not have been any need for correction